Hi everyone, so thanks for joining today. For this session, this is our 9th session. We're going to go over how to assess the effectiveness of your SEO campaign. So in other words, how to figure out if what you're doing with your SEO is working. And so you can see where we are at the syllabus. We're towards the very end. So just one more week. And before next week's session, guys, I'm going to send out a survey. Since this is the course review, I kind of want to go over anything that you feel we need to cover again to review just to make sure you understand it better. But you just have one more week. So roadmap for today, we're going to go over some of the key performance indicators that you should have for your SEO campaign, and more importantly, how you can track these. We're going to go over establishing realistic baselines for your campaign to make sure that you're setting goals that are actually achievable. Then we're going to do a deep dive into several software, not just Google Analytics. We're going to go over Google Analytics, Ahrefs, and SEMrush, and just digging into those and figuring out where you go to find the data you need to make the assessment if your SEO campaign is working, and also add Google Search Console to that list. And then finally, we're going to go over probably the most important metric, but how do you figure out the ROI on your SEO campaign? Is this SEO campaign helping you grow your business, helping you get more customers, more leads? How can you figure that out? Now, your primary key performance indicators. So that's going to be the first is your domain authority. So over time, if you're doing consistent SEO to your website, your domain authority should improve. And we've already gone over which metric you should use which tool you should use to figure this out. That's going to be your Moz bar. So that's a free Chrome extension, so please install that if you haven't yet. You want to look at your organic website traffic, and over time, this should also increase. So this is traffic that's coming directly from search engines like Google, Bing, and Yahoo. And DuckDuckGo is another popular one, but you want to make sure that this is increasing over time. The number of referring domains. So this is just another phrase for the number of websites that are linking back to your website. And so we'll go over the difference between the number of referring domains and the number of backlinks when we get to the Ahrefs demo. Probably the most popular way to measure SEO, but it's not always the most telling metric, is your search engine rankings. So there are actually several tools you can use this. This isn't even a complete list. Today we're going to go over how you can use SEMrush or Google Search Console to measure your website's search engine rankings. And then finally, and probably most important metric here, is your ROI. Are you seeing growth in your business from your SEO campaign? Now, some secondary key performance indicators. So these are some other things that I would monitor, but I would definitely prioritize those indicators we just went over in the previous slide. New visitors versus returning visitors in Google Analytics. So pretty much, what is the breakdown of brand new visitors to your website versus people who have already visited the site and who returned? And we can use Google Analytics for that, which we'll go over. The average time on site. So this is an engagement metric, and it tells you just how interesting, just how engaged people are when they visit your website. The bounce rate. Can anyone tell me what this is? Quick review.
Bounce rate.
Yep.
Bounce rate.
Yeah, so no problem. So the bounce rate is the percentage of all users who visit your website and click off after visiting just one page. That's the most generic definition. There are different ways you can calculate the bounce rate, but that's probably the most widely used. So again, and make sure you write this down, the bounce rate is the percentage of users to your site who leave after visiting only one page. And so for the bounce rate, obviously you want that percentage to be as low as possible. So we'll go over that in Google Analytics. Average pages per session. So when a person visits your website, how many pages on average do they visit when they're on your website? So this is another engagement metric, and it can be an indicator on how interesting, how useful people find the content and information on your website. So the first, first step when assessing your SEO campaign, and this is probably something you should do whenever you start SEO for any website, is establishing some benchmarks and baselines. So these can vary depending on your industry, whereas baselines for the KPIs that we just went over might be a certain amount for a band website. Those might be very different compared to a digital marketing website or to a e-commerce website. So one of your homework items this week is going to be figuring out what are those realistic baselines for a band website. So that's going to require some Google research and really just kind of using what information you have to establish those baselines for brass animals. Second bullet point here, so you want to review metrics from a minimum of 90 days to establish your KPIs. So one mistake you can make is just looking at 1 week or 1 month, and that 1 week or 1 month could have been really good as far as your metrics, or it could have been really bad, and then just using that as kind of the model moving forward. You want a large enough data set, so the minimum is 90 days or about 3 months. But if you do have data for a longer term, the ideal would be a full calendar year. That way you can account for any movements for seasons. So for example, an e-commerce website, they might see a lot more traffic and a lot more conversions during the holiday season because people are purchasing gifts for their loved ones. Another example, if it's a vacation or travel website, you might see more traffic right before the summer months because that's a popular time for people to go on vacation and take time out with their family or significant others. So just something to think about there. You want to make sure that you have as large a data set as possible when establishing your baselines. Any questions on baselines and benchmarks? Okay. So the first thing here, and I'm not going to do a demo because we've already gone over it a couple of times during the course, but you measure your domain authority with the Moz bar. So this is just a quick snapshot. When you install the Moz bar Chrome extension, you can actually see the metrics for any website in the search results. Now, Jonah, why don't you tell me what does domain authority mean? What does that tell you about a website? Domain authority.
Jonah or Jana?
Sorry, Jonah.
Jonah. Domain authority.
Well, you guys should notice, like, while looking at your notes. Do anyone want to help her out?
Photo. What is the wing of the
The authoritative of a website.
Yeah, that's true. So the main authority is the authority of the website. So that's pretty much going to tell you how you stack up against other websites and how easy it would be to rank if you were going up against different competitors. Now, going back to Jonah, can you tell me what page authority is? PA?
With the 489 links.
No. So yeah, that's the number of links, but what is page authority?
On how many page that was visit the website?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
On
How many times?
how many times visit the website?
No, that's not page authority. So we just went over the main authority. So page authority is very similar. So does anyone want to help her out with that one?
The authority of the page.
Exactly. So pretty much the same metric, but instead of being applied to the entire website, it's just going to apply to one page or one URL on the website. Okay, so I really, Jonah, I really need you to understand that or review that, and everyone to review that. That's something that you guys will really need to know when you're starting work on the Brass Animals campaign. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to do a deep dive into Google Analytics, and if you go back here, there are several metrics that we're going to be looking at. You know, organic website traffic, how do you figure that out? New visitors versus returning visitors, average time on website, bounce rate, and average pages per session. Okay. So I have pulled up the Google Analytics profile for the Brass Animals website. And so when you open this, you're going to land on this page, the home page. And this pretty much gives you a snapshot of the last 7 days, so the last week. So we can see over the last 7 days, there have been 187 users, 197 total visits. Average session duration is about 29 seconds, so about 30 seconds, which is down. And then we can look at how does the website acquire visitors. So it looks like for the most part, a lot of those visitors are coming from direct traffic. So they are directly typing in the Brass Animals URL into the address bar. But there are a few coming from advertising, so paid search, and then several coming from organic search, so directly from Google or some other search engine. There's a lot of different information that you can take a look at here. I'm not going to go over each of these metrics, but yeah, just really good to know so that you know if there's any anomalies with your data, then you're able to take corrective action quickly. And so you scroll a little bit further down, you can see the most popular pages. So it looks like over the last week, of course, the home page is usually going to get the most traffic. But it looks like this page, special events, so like the festival page, received quite a bit or a large percentage of the overall traffic as well. Then you can even see some of the Google Ads data here too. So looks like, yeah, there were quite a few clicks for, or at least the percentage was high for New York, but Atlanta and then the actual weddings campaign also received quite a few clicks. And probably most importantly, when you're trying to figure out your ROI, you can look at the goal completion. So there were 7 people who clicked to request a demo, and then there were 3 other people who submitted a contact form, submitted their information to a contact form. And that's a pretty good conversion rate, 5%, you know, the average is maybe around 3%. So that's good. Now, we can actually drill down even further to get more information. So I'm going to go over some of these reports. So real time is basically, if we're looking at the website right now, and that's, you know, that's exactly what's here. How many people are on a website and where did they come from? So right now, this tells me that there aren't any people on the website. So if there was, so let's just say if I were to open a website, so now that I'm on the website and it's finished loading, this should update. So let's see. Maybe we have to click out and then click back in. Yeah, maybe there's a bit of a lag there, but really what that's telling you is how many active users are on the website. So any questions there? Okay. So moving on to the audience section. And so this is going to be one of your key reports, the overview. So like I said, this is just using the last week or so. But let's go back maybe 90 days. So today is December 6th. So let's do it from December 5th. So that would be what? November, October, September. So let's go back to September 5th. So we can get a full 90 days. Yeah, so we can just kind of see different metrics. So number of visitors, number of total sessions, number of new users, new visitors. So anytime you see users, that's just the number, that's just the visitors to your website. The number of page views, pages per session, average session duration, and bounce rate. So here are a few of our engagement metrics that we want to look at. And this is how you will look at them for the entire website. So we see here the pages per session is 3.78. The average session duration is 2 minutes, and then the bounce rate is a little under 13%. And then we also see number of users, number of new users, which is pretty high, you know, a pretty large percentage of the overall number of users. And then we see the total number of sessions. Now, one thing to note here, does anyone think they know the difference between the number of visitors and the number of sessions? This isn't something we've gone over, so just want to see if you guys have an idea.
Is that the CTR?
No, no, no. So not related to the CTR, nope.
Are you asking for the difference?
Yeah, so what do you think is the difference between the total number of users and the total number of sessions? And just to kind of give you a hint here, so let's say that you visit the Brass Animals website. So you count as one user. Let's say today alone you went to the website 5 times. So each of those 5 times is counted as a session. So can you tell me why the number of users is different than the number of sessions?
the sessions is the number of times you visited the website. So it is possible that one user can access your website several times. So I think that's the difference.
Yep, and that's exactly right. So users, yeah, that's the total number of visitors. So the total number of people that have visited your website. Sessions, as Daya said, is the total number of sessions. So this actually will double count based on how many times a person comes to a website. Users, on the other hand, doesn't. So just wanted to, I think that's important to remember the difference between the two. Now, so we see our pages per session is 3.78. Our average session duration is a little bit over 2 minutes. And our bounce rate is a little under 13%. So, Joy, what does that tell us, if anything, about our website over the last 3 months? This is a trick question.
More people are visiting the website
Okay, that may be true. How do you know that?
because of the page session.
So-
The pages per session.
So pages per session, that's telling us on average how many pages they're visiting when they visit their website. But how do you know it's more?
Because the bounce rate is lower.
No, that's not really related to the bounce rate. So I'm going to help you out here because it is a trick question. So these numbers as they stand now, okay, it's great. You have these metrics, but you're not really comparing them against anything, right? So pages per session, that tells you on average how many pages someone visits when they visit your website. Average session duration tells you on average how long do they stay on your website. And bounce rate tells you on average, it tells you the percentage of people who leave after visiting one page. But we have nothing to compare that to. There's no context. So in order to figure out if we're doing better or worse, we need to compare this to another date range. So let's say, Joy, if you were going to establish a baseline for the first 3 months of 2019. So you will be looking at January, February, and March 2019. So at the end of that period, what you would do is measure the data collected during those first 3 months compared to these 3 months. And that'll tell you, okay, are we doing better? Are we doing worse? Or so forth. So just to kind of give you an idea on how to do that, Google Analytics actually has a feature called Compare To. And then you can just compare it to the previous period, and that's just going to give you the same number of days. But you can see here the dates are June 5th, 2018 through September 4th, 2018. So pretty much the previous 3 months, right? So once we hit apply, so now we know if we're doing better or worse, Joy. So it looks like as far as traffic, we're up 133%. Number of new users, we're up almost 135%. And then we go down here to the second row, pages per session. So on average, people are going to more pages. So that's up 2%. And then average session duration, so that's dropped down quite a bit. So if I were looking at this campaign, I'll be trying to figure out, okay, during those previous 3 months, people on average were staying 5 minutes and 40 seconds per visit. Now they're staying 2 minutes per visit. So why has there been such a sudden drop? So that's how you could kind of troubleshoot your campaign and see, what are some areas of improvement. And we look at the bounce rate, that's improved quite a bit too. So that's at about 77, or it's down 77%. So guys, do you understand? So if you're just looking at these metrics for any one day or date range, it doesn't really tell you anything. So you always need to compare it to a previous date range to figure out if you're doing good or bad. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, and there's just some other things you can look at here. Country. So you can see where people are coming from. So it looks like the U.S., which should be expected. That's where you're getting the most traffic. You can even look at city. So looks like New York City. A lot of the traffic is coming from New York. Second is San Francisco. So that's where Ben is. And then you can also look at other variables like browser. So are they using Chrome? Are they using Firefox, and so forth? So definitely recommend you guys just kind of take some time and look at this so you can look at all these different demographics. Now there's one other metric, one of the secondary KPIs that I haven't gone over yet, and that's the new visitor versus returning visitor breakdown. So we can see here, for the last 3 months or so, 92% of the traffic has been new visitors. So they've never visited Brass Animals before. And about 8% of the traffic are returning visitors. So they have visited the Brass Animals website before, and then they returned. So, and someone tell me why it's important to have returning visitors. Does everyone understand the question?
Yes.
So why is it important to have some percentage of your traffic come from returning visitors?
Because they already showed interest on your website. So we need to give them a good experience to keep on coming back to your site.
Very good, Dea. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. So you want to have a significant percentage of returning visitors, because that tells you that there's something about your website. And since we're talking about Brass Animals, maybe it's the videos, maybe it's the blog content. It's some reason why they're coming back to your website, and that shows that they like what you're doing on your site. So that's something else that you do want to track, because it can be an indicator on how good your content is, how good your website looks, how appealing it is, how easy it is to use, just the overall user experience. Now, if we compare the last 3 months to the summer, we can see that the percentage of returning visitors is almost half of what it was before. So, Jenna, is that a good sign or a bad sign?
Bad sign.
Why is it a bad sign?
Because the percentage got lower.
Exactly. And kind of just based on what Dea said, we want to make sure that, if anything, we would increase this percentage. So that tells me that, maybe it's time for a content audit to figure out why we aren't getting as many return visitors. Maybe we need to look at the user experience to see how we can make the website more user-friendly. Those are just some of the questions that you might want to ask when looking at these types of trends. So is everyone on the same page there? Any questions? Okay. And there are a lot of other different reports here. We definitely don't have time to go through all of them. So I highly recommend it that you go through each of these and just kind of get a feel for what they're showing. Now, so we looked at metrics at a website level. Now, how do we look at metrics from a channel level? So one of our key performance indicators, one of the high priority ones, is the organic website traffic that we're receiving. So, and just one note, once you set the date range once here in the top right hand corner, it's pretty much going to stay that way until you change it. So that's one cool thing about Google Analytics. So we see here that our organic search for the last 3 months was about 458 people. So 458 visitors came directly from Google or some other search engine. If we compare that to the previous 3 months, it's actually up. So that's a good percentage. But it looks like the bulk of your traffic is coming from paid advertising, so display ads. So this is where you will find organic search numbers. Just go to acquisition, all traffic, and then channels. Okay, any questions there? And one other thing to note here, so you see these are the different engagement metrics that we just went over. So these are the overall metrics, but you can actually break this down and see what were your engagement metrics for each marketing channel. So we see that for organic search, the bounce rate is actually lower than the site average. So the site average for the last 3 months was 12.82%. And then for organic search, it was lower at 11.04%. And we see that the average pages per session was 3.78. So it was actually much higher for organic search, it's 7.86. So usually if someone's coming through organic search, they're staying a lot longer, they're going to more pages, and it looks like they're on average converting at a higher rate. So what that would tell me is that, okay, if people are more engaged when they're coming through organic search and they're converting at a higher rate, so 36, you have a total of, let's see, 95 conversions. 36 of those came from organic search, so that's what, probably a third, a little bit more than a third. And then your conversion rate overall is 3.27%. Your conversion rate from organic is 5.52. So that tells me that organic search, in other words, SEO, is a high converting channel. So we probably should, spend some more money, put some more effort into it. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on, so how do you figure this out for a particular page on your website? So we looked at these metrics from a high-level site-wide stance. We also looked at them from a marketing channel stance. Now let's look at them from a page level. So to figure out the page metrics, you would go to the behavior tab and then go to site content, and then you would go to all pages. And so from here, you can see which of the pages on your website are getting the most traffic and what are the engagement metrics for each of those pages. So like I said, your home page is usually going to be your most highly trafficked page, and that's the case for Bass Animals. So over 2,700 visits. But you can see here the wedding band page, it's also very popular. The music page is very popular, and the festival page is very popular. So, when I'm looking at this, I'm always looking at how does that page stack up against the site-wide average. So for example, if we're looking at the wedding band page and we look at the average time on a page is 19 seconds. So the average is 43 seconds for the site. So why is this page so much lower? And why is it so much slower compared to the previous 3 months? So again, that's where we want to look at that page and figure out, okay, what can we do with this page? Whether it's improve the content, make it more visually appealing. What can we do with this page to get people to stay on the page longer? Because remember, average time on page is a SEO signal, so it does affect your ranking. Let's look at the bounce rate. Oh, Dave, did you have a question?
Yes. What is the ideal average time for the on page?
So average time on page, like I mentioned, it's highly dependent on your industry. So, really your answer would be, you're going to find your answer during this week's homework, but it should be based on, whatever is the average for a band website. That would be your average time on page. So, Dea, you have a lead generation website. Your average time on page is probably going to be different than Brass Animals because you're in two different industries, two different verticals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, that's for site-wide. Now, when you're looking at a specific page on a website, you should always try to go for your average time on page. So as we see here, this is at 19 seconds. It's much lower than the average for the site. So that's why that would be one of the things I'm looking at, how we can improve the user experience for that page. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now again, something else we're looking at here is the bounce rate. So we see the average is 12.82%, but for the wedding band page, it's a little bit higher at 15.38. So not much higher, but again, that kind of ties with the average time on page. What changes can we make to this page to make it more user friendly and provide a better user experience? So everyone clear there?
Yes.
Okay. And so you can even drill down even further here. So if you click on wedding band, and then you can choose for your secondary dimension, you can choose the channel. So this is just what we were looking at before. So your default channel grouping, you can select that as your secondary dimension. And now you can see a breakdown based on the marketing channel. So paid search, that's Google AdWords usually. Display, that's going to be your display ads. So we see organic search can account for about 9% of all traffic to this page. So that's just another way to kind of get some more metrics for that particular page. Let's say if there's a page that you really want to improve the organic search, the SEO for, I would measure how much traffic you're getting to that page over time to see if SEO efforts for that page are working. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's pretty much it for Google Analytics. Again, I highly recommend that you go in, take some time, kind of go in here and see what is in each report. But those are how you measure your key performance indicators. So one section that we're not going to have time to go over is conversions, but something that you definitely might want to check out is the multi-channel funnel, and we actually go over it really quickly here. So the multi-channel funnel, what that's showing you is, let's say, for example, we have someone that's planning their Christmas party for their office, right? And maybe they just they stumble on a Brass Animals blog article, but they don't contact the company. They don't they don't do any conversions. So let's fast forward a week. So next week they see something on social media for Brass Animals, or they see a paid advertisement for Brass Animals. So this time they actually click through, but again, they don't make a conversion. So it's getting close to Christmas. They need to do something, otherwise they're not going to have any entertainment for their Christmas party. So instead, now they're going back to Google and they're typing in corporate Christmas party entertainment. And again, they click on Brass Animals. And since they've seen the company 3 times now they're going to actually do a conversion. So what the multi-channel conversion channel shows you is pretty much that path. So first they landed on organic, then it was paid advertising, then it was social media, and then finally it was organic. So this is a way that you can tell if your particular channel, so this in this case is going to be organic search for SEO, what role is it playing in converting traffic into customers? So really, that's really, you know, the whole point of marketing, right? You want to use this as a tool to get more customers. And you can see here, compared to the previous 3 months, this is down quite a bit. So we're looking at this overall, you know, Thea, guys, this is something that I would take back to Ben and say, hey, for our organic search, the number of customers coming from this is down compared to where it was before. So very important there. Assisted conversions, I won't get into that, but basically that's if it played a part in the conversion. And last click or direct conversion is if someone converted through that channel. So maybe I'll make a supplementary video where I go more into detail on this, but just kind of important, another important report to review when you're looking at Google Analytics. All right, so any questions on Google Analytics before we move forward?
Can I take a quick bathroom break?
Sure, go for it. Derek replaced you. All right.
I have a
So,
question.
yeah, go for it.
What is organic search?
So organic search, that's going to be any traffic from Google, Bing, Yahoo, any search engine like that. And so the reason why I'm prioritizing organic search is that SEO, any SEO effort that you're doing to your website, it should improve your visibility in the search engines. And so if you're improving your visibility in the search engines, you should be getting more traffic from organic search. You should be getting more conversions from organic search. Does that make sense, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. So next we're going to look at Ahrefs, and the key performance indicator here are looking at the referring domains and seeing that growth over time. So let's take a look. So I already have it open for Brass Animals. So this is the dashboard page for Brass Animals. So if you have Ahrefs, I believe they set up a trial account. You can look at this on your end too. But the key metric that we're looking at here is the number of referring domains. So, Jared, can you remind me what is a referring domain?
External website, website. Nag-link sa website. Domain ka nga nag-refer sa website.
Third-party website.
Yep. So what about a third-party website, though?
The one that linked to my website.
Exactly. So if you look at an Ahrefs, and we're in Ahrefs now, so we're going over, looking at the growth of referring domains and backlinks. So over time, you see this little graph here, is the referring domains. So this goes back almost 5 years to January, actually even longer. You can see over time how the number of referring domains has increased. So it started off at 1 in March of 2013, and now in December, it's at 22. So over 5 years, there's been 21 new referring domains to this website. So if there's one area of opportunity I see would definitely be building more backlinks from different websites to the Brass Animals website. So it definitely has some SEO benefit. Now, Thea, did you have a question?
Yes. I think Ben is doing or getting more inquiries from directories like Gig Salad and Gig Masters. Are they also considered as referring domains?
Yep, they are. Yeah, so pretty much any website that links back to your website is a referring domain.
So that may be the reason why there was an increase in the referring domains, because I think it just started doing it less than 30 days ago.
Yeah, you can actually see that here because this is like in the summer of 2018 this year. You can kind of see this little jump here till now. So yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's good. That's something that you all should definitely like have as an ongoing effort, because based on your competition, they have quite a few referring websites linking back to them. So you definitely want to catch up. Now, so here's another, it's not really a trick question, but I want you guys to think here. So let's say, Jarek, you have a website and you link to, well, let's say, Jarek, you do photography for Daya's team, her lead generation team. So you take a picture, you do like their profile pictures for their website. And on Daya's website, you know, for each profile page, let's say she has 10 of those profile pages, she links back to your website. So kind of, you know, just attributing that you took those pictures. She's basically giving you credit. Now, so there are 10 different backlinks going back to Jarek's website, but all of those 10 backlinks are coming from one website, Daya's website. So can you tell me from that information, what is the difference there between a referring domain or referring website and a referring page or backlink? That's for anyone.
I think referring domain is the same with your question earlier about users and pages. Backlinks are the number of links that link to your website, while referring domains are the number of domains. So they are only counted as one domain. Uh, I mean, if you're counting the backlinks, it could be one website that links to your website 10 times. So I think that's the difference between them.
Yeah, I don't know what Daya did today, but she's on fire. But yeah, that's absolutely right.
Because of my coffee.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's some good coffee. Yeah, but that's absolutely right. So, I really can't say any better. So good job, Daya. So that's how you measure the number of referring domains. So you can see here this little second orange graph that as your referring domains increase, your number of referring pages should increase as well. But you can see here for December 3rd, there are 22 referring domains and 97 referring pages. So referring domains usually is always going to be a smaller number. So everyone clear there? Okay. So there's actually one thing I want to go back to Google Analytics for, and this is something related to your backlinks. So let's say you go out, Ben goes out this month and next month, and he builds 10 new backlinks to the website from 10 different websites. So it's great to build backlinks, but you know the whole point of building a backlink is you want to get traffic from that referring domain, from that referring website. So you actually can check to see how much traffic is coming from a third-party website. So let's see what we have here. So we're using the same day range as we were before. And to find this particular report, you would go to acquisition, all traffic, and then referrals. And we can see here, Google, that's being counted as a refer. There's quite a bit of traffic coming from Facebook. And WP Engine, that might be, I'm not quite sure what that is, but yeah, you're getting some traffic from Instagram, and you're also getting traffic from a website called Wedding Wire. So this is just kind of gives you more information. If you were to go build 10 backlinks, how useful are they? Are they driving traffic to your website? Are they not? It's just kind of good to see this. And the metrics are the same. So you see here, it tells you the number of users, the number of new users, the bounce rate, and so on. So you can do the same analysis for a third-party website that's driving traffic to your website. So any questions there? Oh, okay. Keep on moving. So the next thing is looking at SEMrush and Google Search Console to review rankings for your website. And rankings, remember, this is one of our primary key performance indicators, but they really don't tell you the full story, especially now because rankings can be very volatile. They can go up and down on a daily basis. So, I tend to like to look at rankings from like a week or a month or month-to-month basis rather than day-to-day. Because day-to-day, you'll just drive yourself crazy. Now, how do we use SEMrush to look at rankings? Well, it's pretty simple. So I won't get into this process. I created a supplementary video for this. But basically, you're going to set up a project, and you're going to set up the positioning tracking module. And in this module, you'll basically add all of your target keywords, which I assume for brass animals would be quite a few because you're targeting different cities and different types of events. But the point here is that once you add these keywords, SEMrush will track your ranking, and this is going to be your average ranking. So you can actually see here, this is the date, today's date, December 6th. This is for one of my clients' websites. And you can see, kind of how their rankings stack up. You can see how well they've improved, versus the previous day. Now, again, you might not have time, and especially for brass animals where there's going to probably be a ton of keywords that you're tracking. So you might not have time to look at that all the time, all of those keywords. So one trend that I like to use, or one metric I like to use to kind of give me a high-level summary, is the visibility trend. And this pretty much tells you over time, how does your visibility improve for a particular keyword? We see, or for a particular set of keywords. We can see here, this is just from December 4th, so since Tuesday, we already see that the visibility has improved over time. So that's one cool thing about SEMrush. It's one of the best SEO software, not plugging them, but if you were to invest in a premium software, SEMrush would be a good choice. So any questions on that? And one more thing, and this isn't set up for this particular client, but you can also add your competitors, and you can see how your rankings stack up against their rankings. So if you see, for example, for this client, their number 2 for continuous risk-based authentication, and you find that one of your competitors is number 1, then what you would do is just look at the competitor's website, look at their content, look at the type of videos or images that they're using, and devise a strategy on how you can take that number 1 spot. So that's one cool thing about looking at your rankings. So that's SEMrush. That's a premium tool. Your other option is Google Search Console. And so for this, I'm actually in the account for Brass Animals. And you can see here, this is the Search Analytics module. So you'll go to Search Console, you'll go to the Search Traffic section, and then you will go to Search Analytics. And then from here, you really don't need clicks, but I just check that anyway by default. You can check the box position. So does anyone know or have an idea what position is telling you?
You're ranking on a
Yep.
specific keyword.
Exactly. So it's your ranking for a particular keyword. So the way Google Search Console works, you can't put in the target keywords, but instead it'll show you the top queries that you're getting clicks for. So for Brass Animals Band, you're getting the most clicks for, and that's expected because that's Ben's company's name, and they're looking for their band specifically. And as expected, you should be ranking number 1 for that particular query. So this is another way you can see how you rank for different queries. So if we were just able to sort this by position, so Brass Animals per band, number 1. Actually, wedding parade ideas, you're number 1. And then, sometimes you have some weird stuff here like ever with a lot of R's. I don't know what that person was doing. But animals for corporate events, you're actually 2.3. I'm not sure if that's even relevant, but maybe that's something you can take back to Ben and say, hey, for some reason we're ranking at 2.3 for this phrase, animals for corporate events. Is there something we can do with this? So maybe you write a blog article about how to include animals in corporate event entertainment, something like that. Okay. And so again, with Google Search Console, you can also set the date range. So I have it set for 90 days, but you can also compare this. So, we can compare. So let's just say we want to compare maybe the last month to the previous period. So this is basically going to compare all of November or most of November to most of October. You kind of can see how these stack up. So very similar to Google Analytics when we were comparing different date ranges. So you'll have different metrics that you're looking at here. So any questions there? Nope. Okay. So let's just keep on moving. So finally, we get to what I think is the most important metric for any marketing campaign, not just SEO, which are return on investment. So let's say you put $500 into your lead generation website this month. Over the course of a few months, how much money do you make from that $500 investment? And that could be how much money do you make from new clients or new business that comes from that SEO investment. So how do you think, and this question is open for anyone, but let's pick on Jana actually. So Jana, how do you think you calculate the ROI on an SEO campaign?
Paano mo calculate ang ROI?
Return on investment. Sorry about that.
Paano mo makakalculate? Mo ilan siya? Paano mo makakalculate? Actually, we don't know how.
Okay. Does everyone know what I mean by return on investment?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. But yeah, so good. So let's go back to the preview mode or presentation mode. So there are 2 methods that I use. And I'm sure there are others out there, but usually this is going to give you the information that you need. And I'm going to use Daya's website, her lead generation website, as an example. So method 1 is to measure the direct conversions. So in order for this to work, Daya, you would have to set up conversion tracking on your website. So basically, you need to set it up in Google Analytics that anytime someone submits a consultation form request or anything like that, then that's going to show up in Google Analytics. The second thing here, and it's optional but highly recommended, is to use a call tracking number. Now, a call tracking number is a number you place on your website, and basically when someone calls that number, it's going to forward to your office number or to your cell phone or whatever number you use for your business. And what this tells you is that for organic search, everyone who calls this specific number, we know that they came for organic search. So we know how many calls, how many leads we received from our SEO efforts. So SEO is directly tied to organic search. And the best practice here is to have a different call tracking number for each of your marketing channels. So have one for organic search / SEO, maybe have one for your paid advertising, and then have one for social media. And this way, over a couple of months, you would know that, okay, SEO gives us the most calls, or social media gives us the most calls. So it makes sense that we put more marketing dollars into this channel that's getting us these leads. Now, another important point here, and this is something that you might need some time to figure out, is what is the average cost of a lead? Because everyone who submits a consultation request, everyone who calls you, they're not going to become a customer, right? It might just not be a good fit. So you need to know, okay, what's the average cost or amount of money that customer is going to spend with you? And what is the likelihood that they're going to become a customer? So for every 5 people who call Daya's lead generation service, 3 people actually become clients. So she has a close rate of 60% on every call. So you need to figure that out in order to know, ultimately how much money you're making off your SEO. Is everyone clear there? Okay. So method 2, use the cost of traffic. And basically the cost of traffic is the amount that you would be expected to spend to receive the same amount of traffic if you were using paid advertising. So here's a quick demo on how you would do that. So let's say we're already on Google Search Console, so that's great. So let's turn off this comparison stuff. Let's set our date range as the last 90 days. So let's say we were targeting a few of these queries, right? So we want to rank well for a few of these queries where we're getting clicks. So we would take a few of these phrases. So I think from my example, I took a few here. And we would go over to AdWords, and we would basically see how much it would cost to bid on a particular keyword. So these are 5 or 4 keywords that I use. So best beignets in San Francisco, brass band, Chicago brass band, and Grossman gifts, right? And then we can see over here, I have to zoom out a bit. So we can see over here, so the low range, so it looks like only Grossman Gifts has any data about how much it would cost to bid. But we see here the range is $1.34 per click to $2.55 per click. So this is all USD, US dollars. So, usually the average is going to be somewhere there in the middle. So let's just say for simplicity, the average cost per click for Groomsmen Gifts is $2. So for each time that someone clicks for Groomsmen Gifts, we're going to have to spend $2, right? So from that information, we would go back to our Search Console, and again, one of our phrases is groomsmen gifts, and it only has one click, right? But let's say it had 100. So if we wanted to get 100 clicks for groomsmen gifts, and we were using ads, it would be 100 clicks times $2, which is $200. So the value of having those clicks coming from organic versus paid advertising is $200 for this time range, the last 90 days. And so basically that's how you can assign or figure out a dollar value for the traffic you're getting from organic search. And so this is just a simple example, obviously, but you would do the same analysis for all of your phrases and keywords here. So there are quite a few. There's over 1,000, but I will only focus on those phrases where you actually receive clicks. Okay, so you would do the same analysis. You would, take all of these, plug them into AdWords, the AdWords account. It looks like you already have one for Brass Animals. And then you would figure out that average cost per click. And then once you figure out that average cost per click, then you will multiply that by the number of clicks you receive for that certain phrase, that certain query. So any questions there on how you calculate that? Okay. Yep, exactly. So moving on. So a note on timeline, and this is something I wanted to go over because it's a common question that I receive from clients, and really for anyone who's doing their own SEO. And how long will it take to see results from your SEO efforts? And unfortunately, the answer is it depends. It depends on quite a few variables. First, the age of the website. So the test websites that you guys all just built, maybe a month ago or so, those are very new. So if you were looking to move forward with those websites and actually get them to rank in Google, then you're going to be going against websites that might be several years old, might be 10 years old. So that's one variable that's against you, because Google typically ranks older websites better. That's not always the case, but usually the older a website is, the easier it is to rank. So age of website. Location and competition. So your location can have a large impact on how quickly it will take to rank for a particular keyword. So let's say you are targeting a keyword for a major city like Manila, right? And then maybe you had another keyword targeting a Patero, so a smaller village. So can someone tell me which one would be easier to rank for? Manila. Or Joy?
Manila.
Why would Manila be easier to rank for?
Because it's larger.
Yes, it's larger, but that's actually, so the larger a city is, the more competitive it will be. Right? Because you're going against more websites, more businesses. So you want to answer that one again? Yeah, Patero. Right, because again, let's use a pizza shop for example. In Manila, there's probably a ton of pizza shops, but if you're looking at just one Patero, you might be the only pizza shop there, if there are any pizza shops, right? So that's why it would be a lot less competitive. And then even competition, right? So let's use the example, we have a pizza shop, which is pretty common. Let's just look at Manila, right? And we have a pizza shop, which again, there might be a lot of different pizza shops, in Manila. Let's use something that's very specific. Let's say, I don't know, what's a weird kind of pizza? Like a dessert pizza. So let's say you have a pizza parlor, but you only do dessert pizzas. Does everyone know what a dessert pizza is?
Pizza.
Yeah, so we're going to go off on a tangent here. So
What's the pizza?
Like bar.
What's the other one? Dessert?
Dessert pizza.
Dessert?
So basically, think about dessert, but it's on a pizza. So candy, chocolate. Yeah. So yeah, here's.
Okay.
We don't really have that kind of.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm not a big fan, but my girlfriend really likes this. She makes them, so yeah, I guess someone likes them. But anyway, let's say, Joy, you were the first person to bring dessert pieces to your area, so very little competition, right? And let's say, Jenna, you want to open a pizza parlor, but you're going against all of the existing pizza parlors. So, Jarek, tell me, which would Jenna or Joy have an easier time to rank?
Joy, because it's old.
Yeah, it's what? Say that again.
It's old.
Yeah, so Joy would have an easier time to rank, but not because it's old, but because she doesn't have as much competition.
Oh.
So Joy could probably put up a website today targeting a dessert pizzas for your area, and it'll probably rank like next week because, yeah, she doesn't have any websites to leapfrog. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So you might want to think about that, Joy. It might be a good business for you.
We don't have that.
All right. So yeah, we talked about location and competition. And then the next bullet point here is the SEO efforts of your competitors. So let's just use Jenna's example. So she wants to open a traditional pizza shop. So we already, talked about that she might have some competition. Let's say she has 5 competitors, but they just have a website. They haven't done any SEO optimization on their website. So this is another factor, because even if she has competition, if she does SEO for her pizza shop website and her competitors don't, well, that's obviously going to give her an advantage when it comes to ranking well and improving her visibility in Google. So definitely depends on how much effort your competitors are putting in. You'll find that in very competitive industries, companies, and they're spending thousands of dollars and even more to make sure that they stay number 1 in Google. Because if that Google ranking was to drop, they're going to lose a lot of money and a lot of revenue for their business. So for, less competitive industries, probably not so much, but very competitive industries, you can see companies spending millions of dollars a year on their SEO. And you'll be surprised, like even like big brand companies like Coca-Cola or, Pepsi or Apple, they're still spending quite a bit of money on SEO because this is another channel where people can find them. And then finally, your efforts, right? So, and this really is probably the most important. Depending on how much effort you put into your SEO campaign can have a direct impact on how long it will take to see results. So what do I mean by that? So how often are you adding high quality content to your website? So Jenna, is she adding one good article per week, or is she adding one good article per year? Obviously, there's a difference there, and she's going to see faster results by adding one article per week. How often are you doing outreach for backlinks on your website? Like I mentioned for Brass Animals, this is something that you should do. It should be an ongoing effort. So are you just doing outreach for 1 week and then skipping it for the next 6 months? Or is this something that you're doing consistently on a weekly basis? So very important to be consistent. And then what is your level of activity on social media? So if we go to, let's pick on Daya. If we go to Daya's lead generation business profile, their Facebook profile, when is the last time they have actually shared something on their business page? Was it back in 2015? If so, then yeah, she definitely needs to get back on it. So, you know, being active on social media, sharing your content on social media can definitely have a positive impact on your SEO, as we learned a couple of weeks ago. And it can also speed up the timeline to see results from your SEO. So that brings me to the end of the session. Are there any questions on anything we covered today or in other earlier sessions? Nope. Okay, so like I mentioned, I'm going to be sending over a survey sometime in the next few days. Basically, just getting your guys' feedback, your testimonial if you like the course. And, you know, since the last week is going to be more of a review, I really want you guys to think about, okay, is there anything that we covered during the course that you really want to kind of go in deeper or even just revisit during our last week? So I'll make sure to get that over to you guys in the next few days. And then this is the homework. So no homework questions for this week. These are all team activities. So I expect you all to kind of work together to do these. But yeah, definitely make sure you can, you know, complete these this assignment maybe by the end of next week. So by next Friday, the 14th. Okay.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it. So thanks everyone for joining, and I look forward to speaking with you all next week. Take care.
Yes, our last session. Oh.
Yep.